I'm going to introduce our next speaker. Thank you all so much. I'll acknowledge all the leaders who are here. If we didn't give you the opportunity to speak, no offense, we're going to host many other events, I promise you, but we really want to cut this short. I'm going to introduce, we actually call this man one of the most influential, most experienced. He's been here the longest in New Zealand. He's been here since 1992. 1992. That's a long time. I can't even remember how young I was. But we want to introduce Mr. Thomas Banda. He came all the way from Wellington. And as it happens, so many leaders here, they know him because he supports nearly everybody. And we are so humble to have him as part of our, our advisory board. And that's why this center is the way it is, because we have people like him. So hey, be careful who you bring into your business. Thank you, Thomas. I'm just going to give you the honor. I'm going to yield the mic to you.
Thank you, Katina. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls. I'm actually lost for words, I should say. And if you've noticed, looking at the program, it seems to have been bumped up. And as Ben said to me, you had 5 minutes to speak, but now you could probably take a bit longer. But I should actually reassure you that's not my intention to do so. In the first instance, again, I just want to acknowledge the Tangata family here for the welcome to these premises here. This is a very emotional and quite moving experience to be part of the launch of the Africa Community Center in New Zealand. I think it's one of the first of its kind in New Zealand. I came here in 1992 and seemingly looking ancient now. And when I came here, I was in my late 20s. And when I first arrived here, there was an African Center, but it was actually called the Africa Information Center in Wellington, Cotton Place. That center's objective was totally different from what you're witnessing here. At that point in time, for you who followed the history between New Zealand and the African continent, there was some kind of tension, hostility going on by some African countries, particularly with the role that New Zealand is playing in maintaining contact with South Africa when our brothers and sisters on the continent were going through apartheid. And that made New Zealand a bit unpopular within the Commonwealth. And at that stage, I think with the foresight of some of the politicians, I think even with the fourth Labour government, they saw some sense of reason to try and raise some awareness that there was much more to be offered on the African continent than just maintaining contact with South Africa playing rugby. And a lot of the leaders at that point in time could remember the likes of Kenneth Kaunda, Julius Nyerere, believed that without the independence of South Africa, Namibia, Mozambique, the rest of the continent was not free. And they despised any other country that was maintaining contact with South Africa when they were pushing for sanctions. So this is the context of me explaining that we did have an African Information Center, but that center did not cater for the grassroots Africans here in New Zealand. It was just there to dispense information on behalf of the New Zealand government and particularly doing some damage control. And that was witnessed by, if those who've been here long enough will probably have been able to hear about the anti-Springbok riots that took place in New Zealand. It quite divided the country for those who supported the ongoing links with New Zealand and South Africa, particularly with rugby, and those in New Zealand who stood up and supported the African leaders in terms of trying to isolate South Africa. So that's a context of what makes me so emotional to come here and witness the opening of the first African Community Center. We are not here to celebrate an opening of a building. We're here celebrating the realization of a dream. And I'd like to congratulate Ben, Katina, for making that a reality. And for me, I feel, as the other speakers have pointed out, this is a home away from home. This is a home where we can feel comfortable to share our stories from where we come from, through the journeys that we've traveled. It could be, and I've had experiences of working with community groups, particularly in Wellington, it could be very challenging living in diaspora, being far away removed from your own close family members. But you can find family here in New Zealand. And this is what the center is trying to do. It's a center that's trying to create an environment where you can feel safe, feel energized when you come here, feel you've got brothers and sisters that share the same stories, the same journey that you've traveled. And I also hope that you also realize that having a center like that in New Zealand can be a challenge itself. It does rely on the resources to get it sustained. And this, in my view, one of the things that challenge a lot of ethnic communities when they come to New Zealand. But I strongly believe that from what I've seen and observed, particularly with the energy that has come in from Katina, Ben, and their vision to ensure that this is sustained, I see the hope that somehow, with the spirit of commitment, we can both make all work this in a way that we just sustain this dream. It's in the early stages, but I see the center as a baby. And in Africa, they say it takes the whole village to raise a baby. So each one of us who come here in supporting the center, I hope that you can, in some form or shape, play a role in supporting this center. It's relying on few resources, and we're hoping that we can rely on your time and your voluntary time that you have. And would like, as you go away, to think wisely on how you can help support the center in the future. And all we'll ask for you, if you've got a few hours in a week, in a month, and you feel you can just drop in, I would like to have it at a drop-in center where you can just share your skills that you have, either in IT, marketing, or whatever. There'll be somebody here you can talk to. So that's how we'd like to see the support coming from the community. Like I said, I was reluctant in taking up the stage to speak because I can go on, but I realized that we are getting to a point whereby the catering there is getting ready, and I also want to ensure that you experience the African cuisine as well. And there's a lot of effort that has gone in. In so doing, I also like, on behalf of the Trust, Ben and Katina, to extend a very special welcome to you all from an African perspective, and also want to reassure you that this is your center, this is your home, this is your ikaya, this is a home away from home. It is a small center, small steps, and like I said, you can contribute and play a very fundamental part in ensuring that the success of the center is sustained. Don't think you're small in terms of the scale of what you can contribute. And for those who, I think, like me, try and keep in tune with the African culture, I try and kind of tap into the proverbs in Africa. And there's one which I think fits in very well here when we talk about Katina from time to time telling me that I'm just a tiny little woman and I've got all this undertaking to make this succeed. Katina actually really assure you that there is a proverb in Africa, some of you might have heard it, and it goes like this. It said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, then you've never been in bed with a mosquito. And that just sums up the fact that, yes, you can be small and you can have limited resources, but you could make a difference when you've got the vision and the spirit to achieve your dreams. On that note, I would like to say thank you so much for coming to join us, and I hope you continue joining us and enjoy the rest of the afternoon with us. Thank you.
so much. We're just going to raise up an eye.